Hello, everyone. Michael Pinchera is my name, and I'm very grateful to be here, the EA Zoom meetings. Today, I'm focusing on two random dates in 2022, January 1st and May 1st. And on these dates, I will focus on the Gemini-Sagittarius lunar nodal axis with Jupiter forming a T-square. Then later on, after the nodes have moved into Taurus Scorpio, then forming a T-square with Saturn. Then we'll look at August 1st, when the lunar south node conjuncts Uranus and Mars. My attention will be primarily on the socio-political atmosphere in the United States with the Pluto return of the US as the background karmic driving force. And of course, these dynamics are, can be seen and operate in the realms of the psyche in smaller groups and individual lives. And I'll be speaking about the aspect and sign relationships between the planets and how I'm going to bring in Sabian symbols of their planetary degrees, which aid in further elucidation of these relationships. Also, as Jeff Wolf Green pointed out, when a planet is aspecting the lunar node axis and Pluto has no direct aspect to the nodes, the planet plays a major role on shaping experiences by its sign, aspects to other planets, and its house position. So keep that in mind. On January 1st, 2022, Pluto is applying to the south node. And although they're not in a recognized aspect, they're in a waxing relationship to one another. And Jupiter, give me a moment here. I have a Zoom window on my screen that is preventing me from doing anything. Well, there's that. Okay, so Jupiter is square to the lunar nodal axis. Okay, see there up in first degree of Pisces. And it is also applying to the south node as the north node is applying to Jupiter. The integration point is then the Sagittarian south node as Jupiter and Pluto last conjuncted the south node. And Pluto in Capricorn points to the destruction of all that is rigidified and untrue in the defining of self, the maintaining of identity, and the security gained through control of self, control of others and situations, all in order to maintain that identity. And this is as true for the individual as it is for group, even national identities, humanity as a whole. It also indicates the unconscious underbelly of repressed, denied, and unrecognized soul elements of the being in question. The Pluto polarity point in Cancer is about establishing one's essential self, keeping integrity of self and all that one does as an individual, group, or nation, and keeping true to soul intentions and goals. It's also about keeping these nurturing qualities in relation towards other people. The lunar south node, it's ending its time in Sagittarius, and this points to all that has already been established in both truth and lies and in the ways they provide security. This is where propaganda finds its home. The lunar north node ending its time in Gemini indicates the intentions to communicate the truth of autonomous being. And as an axis, these impulses work together, showing what is harmonious and what is in conflict regarding perception of truth and live and what lives within the personal and societal realm. The archetypal question of Pontius Pilate, what is truth, in the sense of how can anyone know the truth? Well, this lives in the materialistic intellectual mind until the heart's capacity to understand is heard. Jupiter, in a T-square aspect of the lunar nodal axis, shows skip steps or missed opportunities, as I like to call them, in living by the Jupiterian wisdom that already lives in us and cyclically comes to our consciousness, knocking on the door. Jupiter is within the first degree of Pisces and is the trigger of the Gemini-Sagittarius polarity of the lunar nodes. As a trigger in a T-square, it raises the opportunity for the wisdom and high-minded thoughts and ideals to come into being. This T-square activates by giving the evolutionary big picture of what is best for the common welfare, in contradistinction to any exaggerated delusions and contrived constructs for egoistic aggrandizement and security issues. And these manifest in the magnified divisions between individuals, policies, and tactics. There will be intensified division and possible conflicts, oppositions and squares between those who hold different standpoints, especially those who are emotionally caught up, lacking objectivity or independent thinking. The Sabian symbol for Jupiter's first degree of Pisces is a public market, according to Markman Jones, and he relates this to common ideals of community life, being given everyday manifestation through the willingness of each and every participant, all of us, to do their part. He has this keyword, commerce. And positively expressed, there's an exceptional capacity for organizing the converging and conflicting interests of many people for mutual benefit. Negatively, complete insensibility towards any overall welfare. And this is what takes hold then. The Sabian symbol for the lunar south node's second degree in Sagittarius is the ocean covered with whitecaps. This is like the unending availability of everything needed for life. Irrepressibility is the keyword given. This is like an indomitable resourcefulness that we can have, and a naive delight in everyday problems, just so that our inner capacities can be exercised. Negatively, people are taken over by just pointless irritability and nervous self-exhaustion. One of the manifestations of the tensions between the positions of the nodes and of Jupiter is the Build Back Better bill and the senseless, stubborn recalcitrance of most Republican politicians and Trumpians that are undermining even their own cause and even some of their careers. The Sabian symbol for the lunar north node's second degree in Gemini is Santa Claus filling stockings furtively, kind of sneaking around there. It's like an illimitable source of everything needed for life and experience. I don't understand this, but prodigality is the key word. So positively, people can manifest an unusual capacity for bringing every proper joy in a worldly way. And negatively, people can fall into a childish, maybe even a sense of futility in seeking any normal richness in living. This dichotomy can be seen in the proposals of AOC, Bernie Sanders, and others, and in those decrying the evils of socialism. All the personal planets are west of Jupiter and between it and the south node. There's a culmination of experiences right down into the individual personal realm of what's being triggered by the T-square and put into focus by the Venus-Pluto conjunction. Having recently watched the movie Don't Look Up, I realized that it exemplified the push-pull of perceptions of truth, information, communication of the Gemini Sagittarius. The Jupiter T-square to the nodal axis further indicates that the fulcrum lies on the knife's edge of approaching life with either total trust, or even naive positivity towards numbers and algorithms, along with belief in whatever exaggerated, bombastic views and the agendas behind them are being pushed. And this is clearly shown in the contradiction to objective data pointing to what happened during the January 6th insurrection, for example. Clear thinking towards the common good seems to go out the window there. So Venus conjunct Pluto at this time brings the focus onto values. What is truly a value? What values are being challenged? Which ones are dying? And of course, these questions go hand in hand with the US Pluto return. The whole COVID experience has also culminated in a certain sense with these questions. And we're brought to see who we and each other really are and what's of the deepest importance. The Sabian symbol for Venus at the 23rd degree of Capricorn, 2 awards for bravery in war indicates our practical resourcefulness. And this is for developing new experiences, and our genius, for dramatizing our abilities. And this symbol infers a social recognition for one's efforts. The key word is recognition. And positively, there's a feeling of responsibility to dedicate oneself towards social stewardship. Negatively, though, strutting exploitation of self only results in not having trust in others, nor they of you. Pluto in the 26th degree of Capricorn has a Sabian symbol of a water sprite. And this referral to a nature spirit of water points to an incredible sensitivity to having a conscious expression of our ideals in everyday life. Mark Edmund Jones gives it the keyword restlessness. And this is expressed positively as an exceptional sensitivity and skill to not involve ourselves with base aspects of life. Negatively, a lack of sensitivity and sinking into selfish irresponsibility and antipathy towards any intimate sharing of any kind. I hope you don't mind, but I'm going to go back to the Don't Look Up. So spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it. At the end, as the earth is being destroyed, the people who are consciously facing the destruction come together to experience what they know is most important: connection and love. And others who, in selfish self-preservation, had placed their trust and hope in the superficialities in life, in predictions of logarithms and the power of large amounts of money, and they leave Earth to go to a planet that was obviously found to have Earth-like conditions beforehand. Well, they end up only to be eaten by some large bird-like creatures. By May 1st, the lunar nodes will be in Taurus, Scorpio, and Saturn in Aquarius has taken over the role of being in a T-square aspect to the nodes. And this triggers a new level of experience and opportunity. The Taurus-Scorpio nodal axis will manifest to what degree we have transformed or indulgently held on to regarding our sense of identity and security. The push-pull between the need for security, the reliance upon the government, laws, social contracts, and self-autonomy is triggered by the iron necessity of Saturn, giving a stern look upon all that has not been rethought and restructured in our lives. The lunar south node of the 23rd degree of Scorpio is given the Sabian symbol of a bunny. metamorphosed into a fairy. The symbol of the inner and creative values of everyday living and the personal, more dynamic meanings we give things. This is a focus on the transformative power of our creative abilities. So transition is the key word. Positively, self-conquest and transformation of our naive and animal impulses, if you will, into ideals and aspirations. And negatively, there's just an undisciplined escapism, complete distortion of attitude. The lunar north node in the 23rd degree of Taurus has a Sabian symbol of a jewelry shop. This is about the practical everyday values and a display of rewards we may show of our efforts and gives them durability. In other words, the luxury, which mirrors achievement in character or skills. Preservation is the key word. So positively, the happiness related to shaping our vision to larger dimensions and directing our aspirations accordingly. But negatively, greediness and self-serving betrays the soul with trivialities. Saturn at the 25th degree of Aquarius is given the Sabian symbol of a butterfly with the right wing more perfectly formed. This shows our capacity to overcome any handicap imposed by the abnormalities which may become part of our own nature and our underlying stamina and psychological integrity. This is about using our power to take full advantage of the differences between self and the world. Uniqueness is the key word. And the positive expression of this is having a genius or turning a deficiency into a real asset. But negatively, this is an unhappy and rebellious conceit. And we can see these things being played out in the different expressions of how society has been being split in the different factions, if you will. And these qualities that Saturn brings to the table triggers these nodal polarities. And it'll be on this knife's edge again of possibilities that Saturn brings to establish the ideas, practicalities, based upon an Aquarian vision of social policies or sinking into divisive chaos, as evidenced by the concerns, even within the military, of civil war. On August 1st, the lunar nodes are at the 19th degree of the Taurus-Scorpio axis, and the North Node conjuncts Uranus in Taurus. And on the one hand, all that lives ingrained as possessiveness, inertia, and identification with what is material is being challenged and disrupted. And this makes a great upset, an upending of all that does not have purpose or power of productivity with Aquarian aims in mind. And towards the end of August, Uranus will go retrograde while still in conjunction with the North Node. And this will move things in a direction to transform the unconscious individually and collectively, bringing about impulses of instability and revolution on some level. On the other hand, imaginative, resourceful, and constructive determination gives rise to practical creativity. These different streams will clash. Both sides, if you will be concentrating intensely and channeling their intellectual powers to manifest their motives and goals. The dichotomy between the, quote unquote, old world and what's been held onto, quote unquote, new world, endeavoring to embrace living creativity will be ever more blatant. And all that's not transformed or revolutionized will be coming into awareness, along with the associated trauma, even more blatantly to be recognized and transformed. And this is intensified by Mars, which is also in conjunction with Uranus in the North Node. This principle of outer expression of will and desire will intensify for the instinctual and unconsciously driven, as well as those who are desiring to be effective and successful as social beings. And of course, everyone in between. As more and more comes to light, innovative means to overcome obstacles are found. Pluto is in a weak trine in relation to North Node, Mars and Uranus. And it would be best to focus on new strategies. However, people will push and test limits, and conflicts will likely arise. Hopefully enough wisdom has grown to avoid outright violent conflict on a mass scale. A parrot listening and then talking is the Satan symbol for the North Node placement of the 19th degree of Scorpio. And this shows how sensitively consciousness is changeable and in continual reworking of imagination and ideals towards the making of oneself. And we're always projecting what we have created, right? According to Mark Edwin Jones, the key word is conventionality. And this is positively expressed in the skills to bring all circumstances to the service of aspirations. Negatively, there's a self-gratifying pretense and lazy mimicry and imitation. And what this symbol expresses is painfully apparent on the world stage in the ways modern Western culture and its influences on societies and individual consciousness everywhere. In regards to the particular focus on the US, this symbol emphasizes all I've said about Mars and Uranus conjunct the North Node. The Satan symbol for the South Node at 19 degrees Taurus is a newly formed continent. And this symbol is of the basic substance of our being and experience and how we may shape these. And we reestablish ourselves continuously with each new experience, right? And realization. The key word given for this is originality. Positively expressed, we have the potentiality to revolutionize what we have already created. We can totally remodel in social thoughts, feelings, structures, or habits. Negatively, there's a genius for mania, for futile turmoil and persistent upset. And we can see this manifested in the intentions and actions of individuals within the US Congress to create policies for a viable and sustainable society, while others who are parroting Trumpian agendas and actions by persistently throwing up ridiculous legal cases, accusations, and blindly, bellowing racist, nationalistic, and otherwise, hateful, ignorant sentiments in lockstep formation. This is also seen in the confrontations between those who want to change how we consume and pollute and those who deny that these are problems. I have to say this play is not yet finished. And as these deeds are in continual karmic unfolding, I'll now give you a preview of an upcoming additional act to this play. And this will be marked by when Jupiter conjuncts the North Node, Mars and T-square relationship to the lunar axis, and opposes Pluto, making a grand cross on the 21st of May, 2023. The nodal axis is on the 4th degree of Taurus and Scorpio. Jupiter is on the 1st degree of Taurus. Mars is on the 1st degree of Leo. And Pluto is on the 1st degree of Aquarius, the grand cross in the fixed mode, which generally relates to the meaning and structure of existence. And this formation manifests in the feeling of necessity to take action for concrete and definite purposes, and in continual action until until particular aims are achieved. And this manifestation is born in conditions of stress and intense polarity. Things remain polarized until the two axes are reconciled. And the fixed grand cross also calls for diplomacy and restraint rather than rigid determined stance towards situations. As mentioned before, the Taurus-Scorpio nodal axis will show to what degree we have transformed or stubbornly held on to regarding our sense of identity and security. This push-pull between the need for security of and the reliance upon government, laws, and that of social contracts and self-autonomy is highly determined by Mars, Jupiter, and Pluto. Jupiter conjunct the North Node is an opening to larger visions and attracts inspirations toward every practical actions and things of value. And this infers an awareness that karmic consequences occur for learning soul and spiritual truths. Mars in opposition to Pluto shows the deep need for the transformation of limitations. Conscious will activity or Mars needs to be toward relevant purposes in order for transformation to occur. When conscious will is aligned with higher purposes, greater transformations arise. Its opposition to Pluto shows that the push-pull between aligning with higher will or purpose is resisted by Pluto's desire for security and separation and in exerting control. And there are many examples of this tension in US social life, but I will only point to a few. The lurking monsters of racism, sexism, and classism in the underbelly of the US society are coming into awareness more and more. While those who do not want to change the status quo are vehemently and pathetically fighting tooth and nail to keep their sources for security, status, and power intact, regardless of the common good. Mars in the first degree of Leo is given the Sabian symbol of a case of apoplexy. And apoplexy is a state of extreme anger, which could lead to rupturing a blood vessel. And this is an image of one fully red in the face. Dane Rudhyar rewrote Elsie Wheeler, her attribution to the Sabian symbol as blood rushes to a man's head as his vital energies are mobilized under the spur of ambition, which may be a more relatable image. Both give the imagination of being full of potential and power that continually manifests one's being in the world. The key word is irrepressibility. The positive activity is day-to-day creative expression of our possibilities of self, negatively imposing our self-indulgence upon others. Besides being another example of what lives in the division of people, these live at the bottom line, behind the rise and push toward totalitarian impulses and dreams, and the necessary evolutionary urge towards true self-realization of individuals and the kind of society we want to create. Pluto at the first degree of Aquarius gives an Aryan expression of the Aquarian urge to break free from crystallized and outworn forms of definition. The Pluto polarity point conjunct Mars gives an even stronger Aryan impulse towards full self-expression. Pluto and Aquarius impulse for individuation, regardless of social contradiction, will only intensify the divisions between people. There are those who will objectively understand themselves in society, searching for creative ways to actualize their own sense of humanity to meet social needs. And in varying degrees, there will be those who rapidly, if you will, hold on to their sense of individuality in an erratic, if not chaotic way that undermines any possibility of a healthy society. The Sabian symbol for the first degree of Aquarius is an old abandoned adobe mission. And this symbol is about that which is within our heritage and is enduring and must not be forgotten, right, or spurned. And we can say it's the continuity of values that hold true in the highest sense for humanity. The key word that Jones gives for this is durability. The positive expression of this degree is in the depth of character and breadth of vision that compels respect. Blind obedience to superficialities and lack of ambition are negative results of giving over to the whims and dictates of others. The intense polarities in this grand cross brings out the stark reality that each person is a creator of their own reality. In the midst of the growing chaos, everyone will make their own choices. You know? The chaos of the past few years is a threshold in which people have been thrust into transitional states of consciousness. And some are floundering in it, grasping onto whatever structures that give them a sense of security, feeling they are in the know, while their participation further divides people. And others are endeavoring to hold and create more humane lives. And there are many somewhere in between, of course. And it's understandably easy to be overwhelmed by the negative forces in society, especially at this time. However, we must hold on to what is good, beautiful, and true in ourselves and those who we are close to. And we must trust that the good, beautiful, and true are being held by others also. And these will prevail regardless of the drama that I've been talking about. So here I will stop and take questions if there are any.
Anybody has any questions, go ahead and unmute and ask them of Michael. Well, let's see. While people are thinking, I will just say, wow, there's a lot going on. A lot of this shows a lot of fixed energy here.
Yeah. It's just it's not going to stop for a while, you know, and it's just going to get, to say the least, ever more interesting.
Yeah.
Challenging.
I'm curious why you picked, I know that, you know, you started with January 1st, but I'm curious why you picked May 1st and August 1st and this particular date. Were they just?
Right. Well, the January 1st, it was random, like I had said at the beginning, and so is the next one, but it was random in the sense that I wanted to be after the end of April.
Okay.
And so I got the May 1st. And so, you know, then I started seeing these patterns with the, you know, the T-squares, Jupiter and Saturn. You know, it's kind of interesting. You know, Jupiter's with the Gemini Sagittarius, and then Saturn with Taurus Scorpio. And then I just thought, well, let me look further, see what happens when I was looking ahead to 2023, okay, and finding that Mars and Pluto are, you know, also aspecting the nodal axis with squares. And forming a grand cross at that. So this, to me, it's just part, you know, it's an ongoing cycle. And of course, you know, we have our years, January to December, but these cycles don't really, you know, follow that so closely.
Right. Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you.
Mhm.
I am not seeing any questions.
Okay. Okay, well, it was a lot. It was a lot in a short period of time. And I know it's a lot to digest. But I'm just really hoping that I got across that, you know, I'm not just going to give, you know, a rosy picture, and I'm not going to give just a negative picture. I'm going to show here two possibilities, or, you know, or different possibilities all along the way. And it's really, you know, the human being really has to stand in the middle and, you know, choose how to be.
Absolutely.
You know.
Well, thank
So,
you, Michael.
yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate everybody's attendance, and see you another time.
Okay.